Hello, and welcome to Your Sparkly Brand. We're here to inspire and empower entrepreneurs like you. This podcast is all about delivering no fluff, high value content that helps you grow your business. It doesn't matter if you have no budget and you're still DIYing everything on your own. We're giving you the tips, tools, and strategies you need to build a sparkly empire. I'm Lauren Tassi, your copywriter and launch strategist, and I'm here with my co-host, the branding, marketing, and design queen, Megan Gersh. Hi, Megan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm still riding high, and this kind of like leads into my sparkly moment of the week. Well, actually, I have two. Just
Yes.
uber sparkly this week. My first sparkly moment is that I got invited to the Instagram bonus program. So basically, this is a program where every time you create an Instagram reel, you get paid based on like how well it performs and stuff like that. So that was exciting. And then the second one, which we will be talking about more in depth today, is basically I went to this TikTok and Shopify event last night, and it was so fun. I connected with so many people, so many friends that like I have been internet friends with for like 2 or so years. And like for the first time, like meeting them, that was so fun to just like connect with them and chat and network with other people. But yeah, just kind of flying high right now. What about you? What was your sparkly moment this week?
Oh, that's so great. This is like, I feel like it's actually a very lame sparkly moment, but I'm working on, I made an investment by my business and I had a call with like the guy who builds the funnel, the Facebook ads yesterday. And I don't know if I ever told you this personally, but like my Facebook ads account got restricted like 2 years ago and I just like gave up. I was like, I don't want to give them money anyway. Like, I don't care. Like, it just made me mad. I was just like mad and over it. And he fixed it.
Oh, perfect.
He like figured out a workaround because I've had like so many businesses with like Crave and then Crave Bazaar. And like, he's like, okay, we can fix this. We can fix it. So that I was just like, you don't realize this is like a shame I've been carrying for like 2 years. So it's all fixed. We're moving forward with that. And that feels good.
That's definitely sparkly. That's not kind of sparkly. That's definitely sparkly. I love that.
I know. I was on the call with the guy and I was like, I feel like you're going through my dirty laundry right now. Cause it's just like, it's like all the things in there that are disabled. You can't do this. You can't do that. So
you would be surprised how often that happens to lots of people. So you're definitely not the only one.
Yeah. And if there's anybody listening to this and they're ashamed of their Facebook ads account because they tried to do it themselves, I think that's what the guy kept saying too. He's like, you'd be surprised what we can do. And so don't let that hold you back anymore because I've literally haven't touched it in 2 years.
Yeah.
So we are talking about TikTok today. Meg just went to this event. She's got like all this fresh energy from all the people she's been with. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about sort of what's happening, what's big right now. What are people doing that's working? What isn't working?
Absolutely. So I think like when it comes to best practices on the platform, like storytelling is really ultimately winning across the board right now. So really thinking about like how you can integrate stories into your everyday content is going to be so key, especially in this new year. So think about like, how did you start your business, right? Like there were so many businesses that were born out of quarantine, or like, even when I go to these events, like I hear the origin stories of these businesses and like everybody's story is so unique. So like figuring out like how you can integrate that into your content is going to be so key. One of my friends, Andrea, was actually a speaker last night at the event, and she brought up such a good point about like how when you're watching Disney movies, essentially it's the same story over and over and over with different characters, right? Like it's like they essentially capture that story arc of like somebody was here, there was an issue, and then maybe they had some kind of transformation and now they're in a better place or something like that. But think about like how you can integrate that structure into your stories. Like what is your Disney story? Like what is that transformation for you? And integrate that into all of your content. But like I just thought that was such a cool analogy and tip to kind of like think about it in that way. So even like when you're going through your business too, you might have things that happen to you where like maybe you had like a problematic customer or something like that. Like, how did you deal with that? Showing that customer service side of your business can be so helpful also. And that can help to build trust with people as well. Maybe something else has happened in your business where you had a shipping issue or you had a problem pop up that you had to solve. Like those are all stories that like you might not think like, oh, this is just like something that happened in my day, but that might be something like super interesting to the people that are watching and listening. And then there's also always the angle of like, you've seen this a lot on TikTok, but there are always like TikToks where you use like two characters like talking to each other, but even they could be the same person. Like maybe you put on like a silly hat or glasses or something to essentially become another character, but you're just really like talking to yourself in the video. Those ones are always really fun. And it's a really, really great way to tell a story.
I would say that every single one of those sort of examples you gave, I had visions of ones of TikToks I've seen in my mind and like how to do it and how they're using that tactic. So I think that if you want to get more into the storytelling, you just sort of, if you see what other people are doing, it'll come, you can see how you can apply that to your business.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill that you have to learn, you have to practice, because like some people are just natural born storytellers and others have to really like kind of study the structure of the content. And this is something else that I wanted to talk about, is like really figuring out the actual beginning, middle, and end of your content is going to always, I think, be a great best practice among social media in general, right? Like figuring out your hook, like how are you going to catch people in the first like 3 seconds of your video, in the first bit of your caption, what value are you going to deliver in the actual video itself? And then also like thinking about like what you want people to do next. Do you want people to share the video or tag their friends or comment with their favorite out of, you know, something that you're showing in the video? Figuring out that structure is going to be so key. And that's like one of the big things that I see like a lot of more inexperienced creators kind of like miss, where it's like, yes, you're making videos, but there's no like reason for me to stick around, or like you're not giving me the value that I'm really looking for. And so figuring out what that means for your business is going to be so key. I would also say when it comes to the structure, that experimenting with the call to action kind of near the beginning or in the middle of the video can be helpful. So even if you do your hook and then maybe you implement a second hook and then say like, you know, you're definitely going to want to save this for later because I'm about to drop all of the value bombs on you right now. If they're still watching in the beginning, like it kind of prompts them that, hey, this is going to be really juicy. You probably are going to want this later. So, you know, figuring that out. And then also making sure that you're showing your face in the first frame of the video. I have this theory where essentially like people can almost become hooks in themselves. So essentially like if you consistently provide value to your audience and then you see my face like pop up in your feed, like you say, oh, I've gotten value from her before. That's essentially part of your hook. So like if you're showing your face in that first frame, like that in itself can be a reason for somebody to stick around. Another thing I wanted to touch on here is how important it is to humanize your brand. So I mean like showing your face, telling your story, and also talking about like why your brand is unique. So like why somebody should buy from you instead of going to Target or Walmart, right? So like this is especially so important for small businesses because this is how you're going to stand out amongst all of the other businesses out there. If you have like unique perspectives or hot takes, like those are always going to be content pieces that people are going to be like, ooh, like what's the juicy gossip? Like I want to know, like what is the thing that you're about to say, right? Like some people will say like start their videos with like, this might be an unpopular opinion. And it's like automatically you're like, oh gosh, what is it? Like, I just want to know. So sharing those every once in a while, especially when you get like really emotional about something, if you can let that emotion through on video, like people can sense that, right? I would also say like sprinkling in some personal content into your strategy. This is so key, especially on TikTok, just because when people are buying from you, they want to buy from you, right? Instead of like some big corporation. And so like sprinkling that in that personal content, especially through video, can let the viewer kind of get to know you in a way. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on discovery calls where people say like, I ask like at the end of the call, like, do you have any questions for me? I kind of give them some background and stuff. And they almost always say, like, no, I feel like I already know you. I know your vibe. Like, you know, like I've been watching your videos for like 2 years. So like, I feel like I already am friends with you. Like it just feels like a kind of like a FaceTime call or something like that. And it's also just a good thing to keep in mind also that it's so important to like remind your audience what you do. So you'll see like in a lot of my videos, I will drop in there like POV, you're a web designer who blah, 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 blah. That's just me showing the audience like, this is who I am without saying like, you know, here's my stuff, buy it. So there are little ways that you can drop that in there where it's not too salesy, but you're still like reminding people. And also people might be seeing you for the first time, telling them what you do, right? So like there are different ways to sprinkle it in there, but it's so good to get in that habit of like, what are the key terms or like names that you could give yourself where you can remind your audience about what it is that you offer.
Do you think so? I know something that comes up a lot, and because we get this question a lot, is like, I'm afraid to show my face or I'm not ready. Are there like baby steps towards getting ready to do that? Or like maybe one aspect people should focus on?
Yeah. I mean, it might not be the thing that you want to hear, but like practicing, even like practicing, like just like maybe shooting a video of you just talking to the camera, just in your camera roll first, right? So like practice doing that, or you can practice showing up on your stories where like it's not a permanent thing. You know that it's going to go away in 24 hours. Or even if you wanted to practice like, you know, shooting something something and just put it into your drafts. You don't have to post it. You never have to post it. It's just that practice of like getting on video, pushing the button, like getting brave and like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It can be tough. And it is, like we always say, it's like building a muscle, but it really just takes that practice. It's the only thing that's going to like, like doing your affirmations and stuff like that can all help. But like when it comes down to it, you still ultimately have to push that big red button. So another thing I wanted to talk about also when it comes to best practices right now is there's been a real push. This has always been a thing, but like it feels like right now a lot more people are talking about it on keywords and SEO on the platform. There have been several studies that have come out at this point where essentially Gen Z looks to social media before they buy anything. So like you really want to make sure as a business that you're integrating keywords into your actual videos, into the description of your videos, into the hashtags, your video cover, into, anything you're saying in the video. So like when you hit the auto-generated captions, it will pop up in the actual text of the captions as well. These are all signals that you can send to the TikTok algorithm as to what your video is about, who might like it. And it also helps to categorize your content on the platform. So for example, if you're using keywords in all of those spaces, there's a good chance that you will start ranking for those keywords on the platform. So if somebody goes to, let's say you sell keychains or something like that, right? Like Pokemon themed keychains or something. If you're using that keyword everywhere throughout your content, if somebody goes to the search bar and types in Pokemon keychains, like there's a good chance that your content will be sourced near the top. And so you really have to focus on the viewer's intent, right? So like think about if you are in an industry that is super tech focused and that the audience really connects with those types of terms, use tech terms. But for the most part, like people are going to be looking for a little bit more like layman's terms. So think about like the user intent when somebody might be going to search on the platform for something, because those are the types of terms that you want to integrate into your content. I'll give you an example of this. In a lot of my content, sometimes I'll talk about like search engine optimization, right? But instead of saying that, people ultimately want to rank on Google, right? Like, so that's the term that I'll use in my content a lot because it's people know what ranking on Google is, but they might not necessarily know the term search engine optimization.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel like I've noticed too, isn't Google now indexing TikTok videos? Am I seeing them it's in search results on the Google page?
Yeah. It's becoming more and more now. So, I mean, that's another thing is like, if ranking on Google is important to you, which it should be, it's just another opportunity to get your content out there to the right people.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, because I see people do it, is using like a hashtag that's like, I don't know, some sort of promotion or something right now. Does that work? Does that get you anywhere? Like Pepsi challenge or I don't know, something like that.
Okay. So those are specific to like essentially like brand collaborations that TikTok sets up with brands. I generally don't recommend using those just because number one, they become popular hashtags super quickly because they're collaborations with TikTok. And so they get a lot of visibility. But because of that, there's a lot of people using them for just random things. So it kind of becomes saturated super quickly. It's not really going to help you when it comes to like reaching the target audience that you want to. So I, in general, kind of stay away from like those. They're called like trending hashtags. So like I would stay away from those.
Gotcha.
The other thing that still is working that I feel like not enough people are talking about is adding things to your videos that you don't talk about in the video that just like exist, right? Like, but they're weird enough that people comment on it. So like I follow this one creator who always like, or I won't say always, she in a lot of her videos like closes a door in the background and like everyone's in the comments being like, oh, is it a ghost? Like she lives in like this apparently like Marilyn Monroe's like old house or something like that. So it's like, is it Marilyn's ghost? Like, so you obviously you don't have to do that in every video, but like you could turn something on its head. Like you could turn a painting upside down, put something weird in the background where it's like people just start to talk about that and you just don't even mention it in your videos. That kind of stuff always generates a lot of engagement. And the last thing that I'll say when it comes to best practices is collaborations. And so this is why one of the reasons why I love going to these like in-person events is because like not only do you get to meet a lot of cool people and you get to network with folks, but like, thinking about like how can you collaborate with other people? Maybe it's through a duet or maybe it's through stitching a similar creator in your niche, figuring out how you can collaborate with other creators is always like a fun thing for the audience to see. I always like when I go to these events and I post about, folks that I meet or like things that I've seen on my stories, like I get tons of messages from people being like, oh my God, you guys are together in real life, or like, that's crazy. So try to get into those rooms and like seek out those opportunities, because like they're some of the most fun moments for your audience to see. And it's also just like really awesome to connect with other creators in real life too.
So what have you specifically, what's working for you right now on your account?
So something that I've been experimenting with is longer videos. And when I say longer on TikTok, I mean anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes, which is long. So like for a lot of like 2020 and 2021, the 7 to 13 second videos were king, right? So, but now since other social media platforms have released a lot of competitors, so like you'll see YouTube Shorts kind of popping off right now, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, Pinterest Idea Pins, like everybody has that TikTok competitor now. So now TikTok has seen that and is kind of going the other way, being like, how can we keep people on the platform for longer? And so they've been giving a little bit of push to these quote unquote longer videos from 1 to 3 minutes. So these are the types of content that I've kind of been experimenting with. I've seen a lot of like step-by-step tutorial type videos do really, really well because it's like savable content, right? Like people can save it, come back to it, implement it on their own, or even like an engaging story time could be another fun way to do it. Again, the more that you can show like in your video, I went to this event yesterday, I could be speaking to the camera, but then maybe I could also clip in little clips that I took at the event, like so to kind of like change up the visuals a little bit. That might be a way to kind of create that story time in a bit of a more engaging manner. I was actually thinking about this before the podcast, and I was like, I'm going to try that style because I haven't really tried that style before. So I wanted to experiment with that. I sometimes make like clips of our podcast, and I did this experiment where like usually I would just do a top and bottom essentially video where you could see both of us talking to the camera. And I had this idea. I was like, what if I just like tried cutting in some stock video into the clips? And so I just got some not random, but like I got some stock video off of Canva to kind of support what we were saying in the video. And gotta be honest with you, it took a lot longer than I thought it would, but that video did more than twice as well as one of our normal clips. So I was like, oh, this is great information, because like it was a longer video, but like I think that interchange of like, the stock video and us talking really helped to keep people engaged with that visual aspect of it. The other thing that I'll say with longer videos too is that this means that your hooks need to be on point. I would also say that using 2 hooks is like, kind of necessary for longer videos, just because like you have to get people like committed to that video in the very beginning, especially if you're trying to like get them to watch for that long of a period of time.
When you say 2 hooks, can you give me an example? Like, what do you mean by that?
So maybe you say something like, this is the best way to set up the homepage of your website. And then the second hook would essentially be like, you're definitely going to want to save this for later because I'm taking you by the step-by-step process of like how exactly you're going to set this up. So it's like essentially like a 2-part hook for lack of a better terms, to make sure that the audience is like, ooh, this is like going to be so good. And I can't wait to see what she says.
So, and those are right back to back at the top of the video. You're not throwing one in the middle because you need to keep them right at the beginning.
Yeah. It's interesting that you brought that up though, because like if you're doing a longer video, I do recommend also like in the middle of the video, like doing some kind of pattern interrupt where it's like hook, a little bit of value, and then something in the middle of the video that like maybe it's like your face like super zoomed in or something where it's like the viewer's like, oh, kind of like resets that attention a little bit. So those are really good to kind of like throw in there as well, just from like a visual perspective. So the other thing that I want to talk about that I've been testing is TikTok Now, which is essentially their Be Real competitor. So if you're not familiar with TikTok Now, it's essentially a function where you use both your front and your back camera at the same time, and you can either create a photo or a video. They send you a little notification every day to be like, okay, it's time to post your TikTok now. And it's supposed to be like an in the moment, kind of less curated type of piece of content. Personally, I don't have the notifications on because I don't have any notifications on my phone. But when I see it's available, I will try to make one. I have been also seeing that TikTok has been pushing the TikTok Now. It'll say like in your feed when you're scrolling the FYP, it'll say like one of your friends just posted a TikTok Now. You have to post to see it. That's the other thing about it, is you have to post to see your friends' content. And so they've definitely been pushing it. I'm not entirely convinced that it's going to be a permanent feature of the platform, but it's been interesting to see them push that functionality in their other feeds in order to try to drive traffic there. It's a fun concept, but like one of the main things too is you kind of realize with that in the moment kind of style content that there has to be some type of production value there. Like it can't just be like your face and then a picture of the wall. Like that's not super interesting as the viewer. I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. I've been experimenting with it, but you know, it's one of those things where it's kind of too early to tell. The other thing that I've been experimenting with too is TikTok stories. Lots of people, it feels like, are still trying to figure this out just because they do show up on the For You page. So like random people that have never heard of you before could see your story and have zero context of like who you are, what you're doing, like any of that kind of thing. One thing that I have found that has worked for me at least is to do like a series of stories back to back. So essentially being like last night, I did a series of stories where it was like, hey, I'm going to the Shopify and TikTok event. I'm going to bring you along with me for the journey. And so then in every single clip, I made sure to include like, hey, this is at the Shopify TikTok event. So that way, if somebody's seeing that for the first time and they have no idea who I am, at least I have like a little bit of context as to like what's going on. But doing a series like that can be helpful. And also you could use stories for like, let's say you're in launch mode or something like that, and the cart is closing or something like that, and you don't want that to be a permanent thing on your profile. Stories are a great way to kind of convert people there. I will say that for the most part, in my experience, they primarily go out to your followers. And if you get high engagement there, they get pushed out wider. I've only seen one instance where a story has gone viral, and that's with one of my mutuals, but like maybe it's just that I'm not seeing them. I'm sure there's other instances, but like it's rare, I would say. So just keep those things in mind.
So what is coming for 2023? What are you predicting are like the big trends?
So definitely anticipate seeing even more shopping opportunities on the platform. Right now, I would say there's like a medium amount of shopping going on, but I think there's going to be a big shift towards even more shopping opportunities. You know, Shopify is integrated with TikTok at this point, and so a lot of the bigger brands have gotten opportunities to build stores right within their TikTok profiles, which is amazing. Like as a user also, like that's like really exciting to like be able to like see a TikTok and be like, I want to buy that right now, and just be able to kind of like buy it in one click or whatever. So that's exciting to see. I mean, we're also going to see more ads on the platform as, you know, TikTok ads has been kind of ramping up. I also think that we'll see more shopping opportunities within lives. There's been a little of that. They've been kind of like beta testing that for a while, but I think there's going to be even more shopping opportunities like within the live setting, so that when people join the lives, they might be able to purchase right within the live itself. I think there's also going to be more live features and engagement features. They've been testing a lot of these last year. So last year they rolled out, I forget what it's called, but it's essentially like a little TikTok live competition where essentially you go live with somebody else, but it's like a competition to see who gets the most engagement, which is kind of fun. It's a fun way to get the crowd involved. And it's just silly. Like it's just, you know, like so-and-so won the competition. But I think we're going to see a lot more of those types of things as we kind of go on this year. The other thing that I was going to say too, and this will be interesting to see how this plays out, is so last year, YouTube announced that they're going to be rolling out a 45% monetization split. And the 45% goes to creators on YouTube Shorts. So essentially you can run ads, you know, like on your Shorts content, and you get paid accordingly. So that's huge. So I think that definitely gives something, you know, that definitely gives TikTok something to think about when it comes to, you know, creators are a little frustrated right now when it comes to the payment structure of the creator fund on TikTok. And it definitely gives us something to think about when it comes to like, you know, like people might leave TikTok for YouTube Shorts because they get paid better over there. And so it's one of those things where like, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because like, I would love to see a more aggressive pay structure on TikTok's side, just because there are so many creators that put hours and hours and hours into creating these content pieces. TikTok really needs to stay competitive within the social media realm in order to kind of keep people there. So
That's all good stuff. All right. So I have a question.
yeah.
It's 2023 and you've been thinking about getting on TikTok but you still haven't done it. Is it too late? Like, should we go on YouTube? Should we focus on YouTube Shorts instead? Like what would you say to somebody who's considering but still not on TikTok?
It's definitely not too late. I would say do it now, though. There's only going to be more and more ads that infiltrate the platform. With that just essentially means less space, right? As ads grow, they're like TikTok is a business. They need to make money. And so that's a big chunk of like how they make money. And so with that, there's less space for creators. And so like the sooner that you get started, the sooner you can get comfortable on camera, the sooner that you start, promoting your business and getting yourself out there, the better off you're going to be. I mean, it's certainly a different landscape than it was in, say, 2020. Like people were going like viral left and right. Now it definitely is a little bit harder. Obviously, that's not what it's all about either. But if you really focus on like creating great content, learning how to show up authentically on camera and helping your audience, like people will see that. You don't have to have a zillion followers either to be successful. I know several entrepreneurs that have multi six-figure businesses and they have like less than 5,000 followers. So it's like, it's not all about the followers. The TikTok algorithm is really, really good at putting you in front of the right people if you use those keywords and use those targeting strategies effectively. So I would just say, learn how to create great content, target your videos appropriately, and just put yourself out there. It's not too late.
Awesome. I love that.
All right. And that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you are not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And until next time, stay sparkly.